Hello everybody, almost 7 p.m. in Central Florida. This is your favorite blogger, Kate B. Hi. If your first time on my channel, welcome. I don't know how many viewers I'm gonna have this Friday night. If you don't have anything fun to do, you're just randomly scrolling through YouTube lives, welcome to my live stream. Stay with me because I'm gonna tell you a lot of interesting real life stories. I'm Kate B. I'm 48. I'm an immigrant from Eastern Europe. I've been living in the United States, Central Florida, for the past 18 and a half years. And I like to vlog about everything, to share my thoughts, to share my opinions on events. So today is Friday night. I'm going for my walk. It's 80 degrees here in Central Florida. It's a gorgeous day, beautiful, not too humid, some breeze. Can you hear me well? Please let me know. How can you hear me? I'm wearing my microphone. I hope this little breeze doesn't affect the sound of my live stream, and I hope my 5G is not gonna drop. Hopefully you can hear me well. Hopefully it's going to be a fun live stream. Here is Kate, and I'm exercising, trying to lose some weight again. I have a big battle with my extra weight. If you've been following my channel, I did take medication to lose 20 pounds, and after I stopped the medication, all this beautiful fat that was gone with the medication starting to get back. Because I have a very weak will. I'm a sweet tooth. I eat way more sugars than I'm allowed to. So it's okay. Life is good otherwise. So I'm trying to fight the extra weight I'm gaining back. So far I've been good, you know. Since September I stopped the medication. I only gained about 4 pounds back. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Not all of my weight from 20 pounds got back. So in order to fight it, I'm trying to do my 10,000 steps. You know what to do, you know, eat healthy, exercise, move around, minimize stress, sleep well. I'm a perimenopausal 48-year-old woman, so it's obvious that this is a new stage in life where we gonna go through changes and our body's stressed, losing those feminine hormones. So if our body's stressed, we don't need to be stressed. So we try to work on the stress relief, and my stress relief is walking, taking you on a walk with me, doing my 10,000 steps around beautiful lakes, seeing Florida nature. 80 degrees. Finally we're in May. Did you notice how April went so fast? I don't know. The end of the school year is in May. It's way too many events in May. My daughter was born on May 15th, so she's turning 16 in a couple of weeks. Actually Thursday, May 15th. I know because she made an appointment to get her driver's license. And I'm dreaded the day that she takes the car all by herself without a parent in the car. Yes, and this day will be coming on May 15th. She's so sure she will pass her driving test. It took me 4 times to pass my driving test because I haven't driven back in Eastern Europe where I'm from. I haven't driven until 30. So, well, until 27th. I was 27 when I started to drive a car, and my daughter will be driving in 2 weeks, being 16. So wish me luck and pray that all the kids on the road, all the teenagers on the road are safe when they start driving, because we want them to be very safe. We want them to exercise good judgment. We want them not to touch their phones while they're driving, etc, etc, etc. Anyways, here I am on this Friday night with the real life stories, and today I wanted to discuss a very interesting case that is going on in the States right now, and I'm like very fascinated with this real life case. But before I'm gonna tell you, I'm trying to see how many people gonna join this live stream, so I'm trying myself in the new storytelling capacity to be like maybe this, you know, I have to try a lot of different things since my channel is not very popular. Only that short that got 40 million views that made me famous and got all the subscribers to my channel. But my other videos don't get watched that much, and I'm trying, you know, I'm trying different genres. I'm trying to cook, I'm trying to go nice places, to show you where I travel, to show you about the cruises. About cruises are my passion. Sea cruises is my passion. I'm trying to do makeup videos, so I'm trying, you know, I'm trying all different ideas. So today I'm gonna tell you what happened at work. It's an interesting life story, and again, when the situation happened, you try to learn from them and move on, you know, even if sometimes situations in life are not pleasant, they can be problematic, they can maybe ruin your reputation for a minute. Okay, look at this pretty public library. It's so cute, like you can randomly get some books here and put a book back. That's nice. They have those little libraries because it's a lot of moms with kids walking during the day in the strollers here. That's a nice little stop to get a book. Anyways, I'm back here. So I have some viewers. Welcome. I'm Kate B. My name is Kate. I live in Central Florida. I'm going for a walk to do my steps, and I'm talking about what happened at work. And this week was a good week. We got a project. It's a cleaning project. It's a big Excel spreadsheet, and about, I don't know, 6-7 people working together on this spreadsheet. It's about 2,000 lines. You know how Excels are. There are columns, there are rows, and interesting what happened. So I'm gonna share with you. I don't really know if any of my co-workers follow my channel. I hope not, because, you know, if sometimes I slip something that I'm not supposed to say about someone, or someone, you know, I have a misunderstanding or something, I don't want them to watch. Muhammad, welcome to my live stream. Hi. So what really happened? We're working on this project. We all had a meeting last Friday to actually talk about what's going on. I work in the library, in the big, huge academic library at the University of Central Florida. Okay, and hold on. I've been working there for 10 years. Actually, my anniversary, I was live streaming on my anniversary when I celebrated 10 years in one workplace, and this is the longest I've ever worked, and I'm very happy. I feel like this Japanese culture, you know, how they go to the one factory and they work there until they die. So I'll probably be in my library for that long, maybe like another 15 years till I retire. But it was in April, and now it's 10 plus. I can say I work at the university for 10 plus years, and I got 1 extra hour of my vacation time. So that's a bonus. You benefit after the 5 years, you get 5 hours every 2 weeks. You accumulate your holiday time, like your vacation time. And this time, after I celebrated 10 years at the university, I go extra hour of paid vacation time. It's huge. So if you think about it, it's every 2 weeks. And it's how many weeks? 56 weeks. Every 2 weeks make it 27. So 27 multiplied by 6. So I used to have 4 hours, and I would be roughly a day per month, and now I have a day and a half per month. So I have more vacation paid days off every time. Every 2 weeks I have 6 hours, so I'm excited about that. But this project, so last Friday we had the meeting and we were explained which steps need to be taken to clean up this project manually. 4 years ago our library got another system, and a lot of records moved with the big crazy chaos, duplicating some of the records, and now we kind of have to go in and clean them manually. And that's why we have this big huge generated spreadsheet where we mark what we went in the system. We do a few little clicks. So we clean, and then we make a note that we clean. And it's 2,000 lines. Somebody needs to do that. That's what they pay us to do. But this is not a priority task. It's usually when we finish our priority tasks for the day, whatever we do there, like for example, I'm overseeing ordering and receiving materials and paying for them. So I'm more on the acquisitions. I'm more about making sure paying invoices, making sure we receive everything we're supposed to. We have access to electronic books, so I'm like, and there are some other units. There are units of electronic resources, there are units of serials, there is a unit of monographs. So I work for a monograph unit. So my colleagues work for serials unit. But we all got trained on this project. And listen to that. Everybody has to do a section of the spreadsheet, because the spreadsheet is a shared document. So we all get access at our own time, and we all do things differently at our own pace. But the main thing is, like, you do it in your own pace, and after you're done with a particular line, you make a note there. You make a note, and everybody adopts their own way to make a note, and that's fine. They didn't tell us like the format which note has to be, but some people like to put more information in the note. If they, for some reason, they didn't work on that line or something was wrong with that line, you can just skip it and make a note why you didn't do that and go to the next line. So it's very easy, you know, as long as you have basic knowledge of Excel, it's very easy for everyone. But I'm a very anxious person, and I try to be very thorough. I try to record every detail. When I notice something, I share with the group what I noticed. Like, I share the patterns that I meet with the records when they open them, or if I notice there are a few duplicates, how to deal with the extra lines, you know. So I notice these things, and I kind of express, you know, I kind of felt like, you know, giving tips to other people how to do the project. I don't know, I wasn't appointed to do that, but people kind of noticed me being, you know, being so enthusiastic, so they kind of started to ask me questions, and I tell them about different situations. Anyways, real life stories, and that can happen to anyone, to the best of us. Yeah, like I like to say, to the best of us. And back in the day, like 10 years ago, or like even before I got this job, I worked in an environment where somebody makes a mistake, everybody freaking out, everybody is so annoyed, and that was not a healthy environment. Like, I worked in a different workplace. We were in a very small office, and we were women, different age, with different, you know, family situations. We hated each other. So it wasn't a nice place. It was a very toxic environment to work. So back in the day, we were like standoffish. Somebody make a mistake, and it was a huge deal, you know. And I learned from there, like, I was a part of that toxicity too. So I didn't want to be blamed. I didn't want to be pointed. I didn't want to, you know, own my mistakes. But since then, it's been 10 years. I work in a nice, very good environment. People stay in my office for like literally over 25 years. So they must like something there. And our leadership is great, and a lot of changes going on, and we adapt to changes. But don't take me wrong. So I always, like, until this point when I hit perimenopause, I always thought like I'm doing everything perfect because I'm so anxious. I'm paying attention to details. I check myself 3 times. I make huge, like, long notes just to think about any bad case scenario, but it doesn't help all the time. So I'm making these notes, and I'm noting every line. I'm noting an information from other column, and at some point, And I'm only working on my section. So everybody working on the section of 100 lines, you know, and when they finish the section of 100 lines, they go to the next 100. Like, let's say I'm working from 1 to 100. Another person is working from 101 to 200. Another person is working from 201 to 300, and so on. And when they finish, we kind of record in the group chat which section we're working on. So I'm working slowly because, you know, I have other tasks to do, and, you know, this project, we don't have a deadline per se. We're working on that as much as we can every day. So, and usually when you open the shared file, you can see who worked on it, but I kind of didn't pay attention because I don't worry about my people, my group. They know what they're doing, I trust them. So, somebody brought to my attention that they have this weird note in the column in their section they're working on. And I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and look what kind of notes are those. So when I go and I see those notes, they look exactly like my notes, except the line, the number is not copied and pasted. The number is different for each line. So I'm like, interesting. And I'm going to someone's section and I'm randomly checking if this line was done to see if that note is correct. And what I discovered, because I like to investigate, I like to untangle things. When I was a kid, I liked to read the detectives, and I used to read a lot of, I wonder if when I walk, okay, if my camera is shaking a lot, let me know. Let me know how can you hear me, and let me know if this story sounds interesting to you. I need to do my steps, so after I do my 10 steps, maybe I'll stay here for an hour and a half, and then I'll let you go. And I used to be a perfectionist, but now I'm letting things go because I know life is not perfect, and it's okay. We're all, you know, we're all not perfect. We're all gonna forget something. We're all gonna, you know, misplace something. We're all gonna, you know, break something. It's more important the way you can fix things, right? And it's more important, like, yeah, I spent all my life being anxious about things, playing like worst case scenario. But at the end of the day, when you deal with everyday small situations that can be resolved and it's not a big deal, you move on. You understand they were not worth of your nerves. They were not worth of your emotions. They were not worth of all those feelings you felt the moment, like you felt stupid, you felt upset, you felt disappointed, you felt betrayed, you know. Those are strong feelings, and believe it, I've lived all my life taking things like too close to my heart, too personal. And I understand at my 48 years old, there is some wisdom coming with age, and I understand I should let things go and take things a lot more easier. So I'm working on it. I like to say I'm in the process. Anyways, and I randomly checked someone's work, and don't take me wrong, you know, I was just in that particular section, and I see that the information about that line in the note is correct, but the action wasn't done. So the action, for example, says bib deleted, PO line moved, right? And the note has a correct, let's say, order number, right? It corresponds with the other information on that line. But for some reason, this line is not done. So the note says that it's been done, but it's not done. So my first reaction, I'm like, interesting. But listen, how sometimes we assume things that are not real. They're only in our head, you know, they're just assumption. And that's very important because it's human error. You can't do with that, and we're all different. We're all gonna think and blame someone else. But anyways, my first thought, I'm looking and I'm like, I'm checking another line, and I'm thinking, like, if a person took the time to put a correct PO number, like my train of thought, like if a person took the time to put a correct PO number saying that it was moved and the extra duplicate record was deleted, why it's not done? You know, why it's not done? Why when you go in the system you still see this, you know, whatever we call weeds, you know, like we call them duplicating records, we call them, I don't know, they're like rubbish sitting there. And I'm looking at the section and I'm seeing one of my colleagues working on that section, and you know, I'm not checking because, and I'm seeing that she put these notes on all of her lines, all of her 100 lines. And I'm like, instead of like, you know, digging a little deeper, I'm assuming that she worked really fast or something, you know, like I'm assuming the worst case scenario. I'm assuming maybe she didn't understand some steps, maybe she missed some steps, and they were like, you have to pay attention. Sometimes it's a drop-down menu and you manually have to pick what action you should do in the system. So, you know, I have all these thoughts, and I know it's a part of my character because that's how I grew up. Like everywhere I grew up, we blame everybody for everything. Like we would think we were thinking the worst about people, and I was brought up with that mentality. You think the worst, and on top of me being perfectionist myself, expecting like a lot from myself, I'm expecting that from other people. And I'm seeing who worked on that section, and I'm like, huh, right, this person didn't do the job right. So instead of digging a little deeper and cooling off, you know, when you discover something, don't jump into a conclusion right away. Because what's happening, instead of going to that person and kindly ask them to double check their work or check what, you know, like what's going on, why their notes plugged in. And this is a totally different person who brought this to my attention about this. And I just told that person, you know, maybe people, when they're working on their section, maybe they accidentally moved from their section and plug in the notes somewhere else, you know, not on the line. So I'm telling one of my colleagues, I'm telling her, don't remove them, just cut them out, paste them somewhere else. We'll get, you know, we don't want to delete someone else's work, and just, if you want, just remove them from your column and move on and do your thing. Because she says she has a way, she's coloring her lines just to define which one she worked on, blah, blah, blah. So instead of asking nicely my other colleague who works in a different unit, what I'm doing, I'm going to her supervisor, not the person I supervise, because with the person I supervise, I have no problem. She brought it to my attention. I told her what to do. She was happy. She moved on. And she was like, she left me alone. But with this person, I don't supervise her, and I don't feel comfortable to necessarily point out mistake I found. So I'm going to her supervisor, like on Teams, you know. And I'm like being very, very, how you say, being very, just going from far, you know. I'm saying, can you look at these records, please? It looks like those are done, but when you look in the system, they're still there. They were not cleaned out, but the note says they were. And he asks me who works on this section. And I'm telling this person works on this section, and this person happens to be the one you supervise. And they have new supervisor in the other unit, and he's a super nice guy. He's been there very long. But I heard from some of the people in that unit that they were not particularly happy with their supervisor. They really liked the other one who helped them a lot, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so, and he tells me, why don't you go to the person and ask them to double check the work? And I'm like, no, I'm not. It's not my place to undermine somebody's work. But he says, it's everybody's project. If you see the mistake, you can tell people. The supervisor tells me, you can go ahead and just, you know, message a person. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just ask to double check these lines, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I'm afraid this person is sensitive. I don't want to cause any trouble to talk to a person directly, blah, blah, blah. So he tells me, let's see, because when you're working on the shared spreadsheet, make sure everything you change in that spreadsheet gets recorded. The system just works like that. Every minute, every second of any edit is recorded on the spreadsheet. And when he starts looking, like, that's the funniest part. When he starts looking, and I didn't think about it because I jumped into a conclusion. I made an assumption. I just wanted to blame that lady. I don't know why, what I have. She's the sweetest lady, and I get to work with her and train her today. I've been working with her 10 years. But anyways. So the funniest part, when you go on a particular line and you click on the view and you click on the history of that particular cell and who edited it, it looks like the person who edited all this column was me. And I'm so embarrassed. Like, you could hear it in my voice. I'm like, oh my gosh. And this guy said, it looks like you kind of like working on those. And I'm like, how could I work on those? My section is like way far from this section. And he said, wait, let's see what's going on. And he said, don't worry about it. If it's a mistake, we can always fix it. We have to dig a little deeper. And at this point, I'm so embarrassed. I'm like saying, okay, thank you for looking into that. I'm gonna investigate a little further. And when I find what's going on, I'll get back to you and I'll let you know. I apologize. I was thinking about other person making a mistake. So it appears this lady hasn't even touched the spreadsheet at all. She hasn't even started the project, right? So the supervisor, so I kind of threw her under the bus because the supervisor, her supervisor, got to see that she hasn't started. Everybody was working. And he suggested, like, instead of like investigating, like snooping who were working on the cells, we have to make a separate column where we put our initials, just, you know, just so we can track the section we're working on. So we just, like, he added an extra column with the initials and the date, like, to kind of keep track how many lines we can do in so many, you know, days. But anyways, so I kind of threw her on the bus that she hasn't started to work on that. But then I see I was the one to mess with the whole column. And I'm freaking out at this point because I don't know what I did. And I'm pointing out to my supervisor. I had to confess. And she tells me, do you know? And like at this point, my supervisor noticed that something going on. And she said, do you know why all these notes are posted in all 2,000 lines? And I'm like, now I have to confess. Somehow, I go back, I dig a little deeper. When I'm working on the line, like whatever, 38, something has happened. And all these lines in that D column, whatever, they got fixed automatically. Hello, how are you? So I realized it was me, that I made a mistake. I had no clue how I made it. It was like honest accident. Of course, I apologize. Of course, I'm, you know, telling everybody in the group chat, please be careful with the notes, because somehow I automatically filled in this column. And ignore these notes, make your own notes. Everybody has their own way. There is no pressure. I apologize. And I'm like, okay. It's always important to tell people that you own your mistake. It was an accident. They're not gonna kill you for that. They started to write me supporting messages like, we still love you, don't worry about it, it's just a spreadsheet, it's not gonna ruin our day, blah blah blah. So everybody was nice and supportive. And you know, when you get this feedback, that's why I'm comparing two environments. The place I left it for a reason, because it came to the point I would come home crying and stress every day. And I had a little, you know, child that was breastfeeding. I didn't want to have that stress, you know. And it was rough because people blaming for every little mistake, for every little imperfection. Everybody was like losing their minds. And I remember feeling like that, like I wasn't deserving that treatment. I felt like I was in some sort of prison. But here it's different. People are like, oh, come on, don't worry about it, things happen. Listen to that. And, you know, and this lady writing in the group chat that she said, I want all my notes cleaned. And her supervisor going there, and she was kind of like, she was kind of firm about it. She hasn't started to work on her project, and she said, I don't want these notes to mess my work up. I haven't started yet, but when I start, I want this column clean. And we're like, okay, don't worry, we'll clean it. The other guy started to investigate a little more, you know, like the other guy. And he comes actually to me yesterday, and he tells me that he noticed that these lines, these notes correspond with the, you know, with the correct, they have correct information. And he said sometimes it saves him time. He tells me that he really likes it. He didn't delete them because it saves him time. He works on the line, he double checks and everything, and he just leaves that note be, and he just highlights his job. And so he kind of liked my mistake. But listen to that. Then we go, and that happened, I don't know, that happened on Monday, right? So Wednesday we were working. Tuesday is fine. Thursday. Yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, everybody working. We're picking up new, like, you know, hundreds. Whoever works fast to pick up like third hundred or 400 or 800, whatever. So we were all working separately. And here comes Thursday. And of course, I'm not, I like to do the project, but I'm telling you, I have my own strategy. If I get distracted, or at 10, I do 10, 15 lines at once, or I do 20 lines like spreadsheet, you know. And sometimes you start to experience fatigue, everything starts to look blur, you don't know where you are, you forget, did you do that step, you go double check yourself. So I call it Excel spreadsheet fatigue, and that's the sign for me to step away and do something else and come back later. And that's how I do it, you know. So, and I suggest to everybody, don't do like 100 lines at once, because you're gonna get so tired and overwhelmed, and at some point, yeah, it could be a fatigue from looking at the computer every little line for so long. So just do some other task, just, you know, go take a little cup of coffee or something, come back. So I always tell people, the speed doesn't matter. The speed, how fast you do it, doesn't matter, because, you know, this particular, it's not a surgery, brain surgery, when a person can die on the surgeon's table. This is something we routinely clean up. It needs to be done at some point, so the system is not overcrowded with all this, you know, rubbish and all this extra records. So it needs to be done. It's not a big deal. We can do it at our own pace. What's important is not the speed, but accuracy. And I always encourage that, because back in the day, like, I'm a very impulsive person. Everything has to be fast, you know. I'm acting fast, I'm thinking fast, and it's not good sometimes. Sometimes you need to breathe, you need to stay relaxed, you need to stay focused. So accuracy over speed. And I tell my people, I don't care, I'm not gonna check how many lines you could do a day. You can do 3 lines, or next day you can do 10 lines, and next day you can do 23 lines. I don't care, because I don't check, I don't micromanage. But I want you to go slow, and I want you to be accurate about this line. So everybody doing their own pace. So comes Thursday, I'm working on the line, I don't know, let's say 77 or 78. I'm working on it, almost done with my 100. And all of a sudden, my colleague, she writes me a message in Teams. Do you know the notes appeared again? And I'm like, no way. And I'm going back, I already know how to look up the history, and I'm seeing that when I was working on line 83, I accidentally filled up the lines from 83 to 2000. I'm like, no way. I have no clue what I have done. I don't know if I moved my mouse too fast, if I, you know, pasted somewhere wrong and it pasted to the whole column. Like, I'm not an expert in Excel. Don't take me wrong. I took this Excel class when I was going to college for my accounting degree, but I wasn't an expert, you know. I learned enough of formulas. I learned enough to make like graphs. I learned enough to like add columns. I learned enough to do a budget spreadsheet. So I'm I'm not an expert, and they always encourage us to take this LinkedIn courses to know about more functions in Excel spreadsheet. And you're always like, oh, those courses going to be there tomorrow, I'll take it. But make sure you take it, because, you know, so, and I'm like looking and I can't believe my eyes. I did something again, like I'm the culprit of the problem. I did something again to the spreadsheet that everybody got their notes filled again automatically. And this time I have to confess, I have to ask my supervisor. I say, and she's super smart. She knows Excel like, I don't know, she's an expert. And she said, don't worry, I'll look into it. And then she finds this button that has the, so nobody did that. Nobody did that, because everybody's notes are very concise. They have like 2 words or something, or just even 2 words, you know, move, deleted, move, deleted, move, deleted. And here goes your favorite vlogger who is like trying to be a perfectionist, who is nuts, who is anxious, who is control freak. And here comes me. I'm putting a number that corresponds to a number in another column. And what the system does, it recognizes the pattern of like 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. And then there is a button that's called Flash Fill. Flash Fill. And with this Flash Fill button, it reads the pattern on the previous cells, and it kind of fills it up automatically for the rest of the cells. And what's crazy about it, that it generates the information from the same spreadsheet. So it does find the correct whatever order number to attach to this particular record, you know, to this particular. But people were not working on these lines yet, you know, people didn't touch those lines yet, and they filled up automatically by mistake. If they didn't keep track what line they were on, it's very confusing. They might not remember which line they stopped. So I'm pretty much messing everybody's work. So this time I feel super bad. I'm like telling my supervisor, I've never known about this button. I've never known I'm doing that. And she said, because you're putting such a detailed note and every line has a corresponding number in a different column, the system, Excel itself, picks up. Did you know about it? I had no clue, and I've been working with Excel for the past like 15 years. So then I'm going, see where I'm going, hopefully I don't see the, oh, I shouldn't be close to the water because we have gators. I don't know why did I decide to go so close to the water, just to show you the lake. So, and I felt so bad, and everybody's laughing. They say, oh, Kate, you again. But my boss says, let me go investigate a little further. She sees that and she says, actually, she could fix the spreadsheet that this function, this Flash Fill button will not be active, like it will not automatically fill up the column. And because I was so paranoid about the information I put in my note, because it was excessive information. Nobody needs that POL number corresponding from a different column, blah, blah, blah. But I was so paranoid about putting it just in case, because I always like to do a little more, you know. Even if I was not asked to put that particular note, that was my way of recording a proper note, you know. Detailed note, what I call detailed note. And this detailed note played this stupid trick with me. It just filled up the whole 2,000 lines. So they laugh at me, and my boss says, oh, don't take it. Hey, how are you? Oh, those bikes are cool. So she says, don't worry about it. She said she was able to disable it, so I'm not gonna do it again. And everybody's laughing, and the guy telling me, oh, it's okay. He said, I actually like the notes there. I'm using them. I said, be careful, double check. So we all like, so today, so I made the mistake twice this week. I felt so bad, and everybody's like, at this point, everybody's laughing. They say, Kate, don't mess up the spreadsheet, you know, don't touch it. And I'm like, see, when you do things wrong, they kind of can tell you don't touch anything, you know, don't do stuff. But if you do stuff, you know, at some point you want people to do and learn from their mistakes and move on. So that's a good, I think that's a good case to put me in my place. Not blame other people, investigate further, find the mistake, fix it, and move on. So today, actually the supervisor coming to me and he says, can you train this person to do, because she hasn't started, like the person I was trying to blame that didn't do her job. He actually comes to me and he says, can you please train her because she needs a little refresher. She didn't remember all the steps and she's like anxious. So I go to her workplace and we walk through the steps together. She's capable, she knows what she's doing. She said they actually had another similar project, so I was able to show her all tricks, and I was able to show her to stay away from like this, you know, hey, welcome Moto. So, and it was funny because she was super sweet and we had such a nice, you know, time. Like when I was showing her, we were figuring out that, you know, everybody has a different setting and sometimes she has to do an extra step to plug in like some information that doesn't let her move to the next step. And we like kind of like, some people don't know where to go further to investigate more information, if there are like duplicate records, how to define which one is correct and which line you should keep and which line you should delete from the system. So I'm showing the tricks and she's totally capable. She's the sweetest lady. She's been there like for ages, 25 years. And I'm telling her, I was the one to you know, to put all this error notes, and I told her, don't worry. Apple-Gilgic. I'm not sure which language is that, but thank you for your comment. Thank you for stopping by. So it's been 40 minutes I've been telling this story. So the moral of the story, Pluto, I love your outfit. You do? Yeah, that's my shirt. It's very nice and breezy here today in Florida. Look at the sunset. It's so beautiful. It's gorgeous, the sunset. So pretty. Thank you, Pluto. Thank you for stopping by my live stream. So the lesson learned, I'm like, if you make a mistake, own it. And I tell all the people, like, where you work, you can't be perfect. Everybody gonna make mistakes. What's important, and I teach my kids too, you make a mistake, if you always too harsh for yourself on making mistakes, it discourages you to do and try again, and all you're gonna do, you're gonna be anxious and afraid to make a mistake, so you're gonna do nothing. But when you do actually something and you make a mistake, you learn from it, you move on, and you kind of like make your skill perfect. You know, you start to pay attention, you remember how to fix it, you learn that it's not the end of the world. And it's not only about like your work situations, it's about your life situations too. Sometimes you get mad, sometimes you get upset with your friends, sometimes you can say, like, have argument or say hurtful words. You know, when you cool down, you think that the fight wasn't worth it, like the big picture, the bigger, better relationship. You move on, you have the courage to own your mistake, to apologize, fix things, and move on. I think this is the moral of this story. And I know I've been a stress ball, taking things too personally. And finally I realized that it was my way of coping to blame other people, like how I jumped in the conclusion that this lady wasn't doing her job properly and that's why that note appears there. And I was totally wrong, because this lady hasn't touched the spreadsheet yet, so she didn't even have a chance to make a mistake. And that proves the point that, you know, people who do something, they make mistakes, and that's good to do something. Oh, какой красивый закат. This, I think this sunset is so pretty today. So pretty. I like the sunset. But anyways, 45 minutes. Okay, another thing I wanted to try myself about storytelling is the criminal stories. And unfortunately, this story, it unfolds right now in Massachusetts, Boston area. So we're gonna talk a lot in my live streams and my future live streams about Karen Read case, Karen Read and John O'Keefe case. If you're not familiar, what is this case about? I'm gonna tell you briefly, like a story. So I'm gonna try myself in the storytelling genre, and then it's still like going, it still unfolds in real life, in real time. So if you're going to be interested, you can always come to my channel, to my live streams, to my videos, and discuss it with me. It's going to be like something I'm really drawn to, I'm very interested in, I'm following. So I'm going to take you back and tell you the story, what happened, and then we're going to discuss what's going on now. You ready for that? 45 minutes. I don't know how long it will take me, but I'm in the mood. I've been watching this trial for 2 weeks now, and every time I say I have to share it with my viewers, I have to discuss it on my channel, I have to express my feelings about this case. And since I was a child, I really liked detectives. I really liked criminal dramas and thrillers to read. So then I like to watch criminal and psychological and dramas, but this drama unfortunately happened in real life. So it's even more interesting to talk about it, that it's still, we don't know how it's going to end up. We kind of know, but we speculate. We all have opinions, we all have evidence, we all listen to a lot of evidence and witnesses. We also hear both sides, prosecution and defense. So the story, let's go back to the story. You ready? You ready for me? I have 4 viewers. Thank you for being with Kate B. So the story. So the story unfolds on the morning of January 29th, 2022. The events are happening in Massachusetts, Boston area, the little town of Canton. Have you been to Massachusetts? I've been to Boston. I've been to Massachusetts. Have you seen those like northern little old towns, like New England towns? They're very small. People know each other. They bond. They make friendships. They drink together. They celebrate together. But anyways, I'm taking you back to Canton on January 28th in the evening. There is a lady. Her name is Karen Read, and she's dating a beautiful, gorgeous man, a policeman. His name is John O'Keefe. So the lady is 42 years old. Her name is Karen, K-A-R-E-N, Karen. She's a very successful woman. She has a brilliant career. She works as a financial analyst for the Fidelity, big company, Fidelity, I believe. Massachusetts, Boston. She has a brilliant career. She also teaches at the university. I forgot the name of the university. John O'Keefe, like, she's 42. She's dating this gorgeous policeman, Boston police, John O'Keefe. John O'Keefe is about 3 years older than her, so he is 45. He's a gorgeous man. He's raising 2 kids, a son and a daughter who are teenagers. Those kids are not his kids. He lost his sister, and he's raising his nephew and his niece as his own kids because his sister passed away. I'm not sure what happened to his sister at this point. Maybe I'll read later. Maybe I'll know. But it's not very relevant to the story I'm telling you now. So they're dating, you know, like couple in their 40s. Karen never had kids of her own, so she lives in her house, and John lives in his house with his kids. And life seems to be okay because he has a good job, Karen has a good job. They spend time together. She looks like she gets along first glance. Looks like she gets along with the teenagers very well. She buys them gifts, she spoils them. When she comes to his house, they engage in the conversations with her. Life seems good. But we're talking about January 28th of 2022. Can you imagine you date someone, you're in a relationship, and something happens, and then all the information from your cell phone becomes public? Like everybody gonna see your text messages to each other. Everybody gonna see how you... Sorry, what are you doing there? I'm walking. Rebecca Fogel, welcome to my live stream. I'm walking at the lake. I'm doing my 10,000 steps, and I'm telling you the story about Karen Read and John O'Keefe. Karen Read. What are we doing here? What are you doing here? What are we doing here? Sorry, what we're doing here? We're discussing this case of Karen. We're discussing the case, trial of Karen Read. Have you heard about the trial going on in Massachusetts? It's very historical trial because she's been tried for second-degree murder. Are we just watching you walk? I'm confused. Yes, you're watching me walk, yes. And I'm telling a story. Can you hear me? Hello, Rebecca, welcome to my live stream. Do you have sound? Can you hear me? I've been talking for 51 minutes and nobody told me there is no sound in this live stream. Can you hear me? Are we just watching you walk? I'm confused. Please don't be confused. Talk to me. Look how beautiful Florida is. We just watched the gorgeous sunset in Florida. Look at this palm tree. I can hear you. Also can read news. What's the point of this? LOL. Well, it's my channel. I like to talk. I don't have anybody. Actually, I had my colleague today to discuss this case. But this is my channel. I'm developing my channel. I'm talking about the topics that really interest me. So if you read the news, it's good for you. I want your input. I want you to be engaged in the conversation because I want the like-minded people who are very curious and they want to know, to get to the bottom of it, what really happened. So the point of this is just I wanted to discuss it with my viewers, and I'm doing it in my live stream because I'm a vlogger and I like to talk. But thank you for asking. So you know the story, right? Hello from New Jersey, everyone. Ilenочka, welcome. Elena and Boris, welcome to my live stream. We're talking about Karen Read. Rebecca knows this case, so she's asking me what's the point of talking about this case. But I've been watching this trial for 2 weeks now, and I'm really fascinated with it. What case again? Karen Read. Karen Read. Karen Read. She's tried second time for the second-degree murder. So, on that day, it was Friday night, they're texting between each other, and imagine like you're texting with a person you date and you don't know what's gonna happen, and at some point this text gonna become public. Everybody gonna read them, everybody gonna discuss them, everybody gonna judge the vibe between those two, you know, like everybody gonna speculate what was going on in your personal life. So that's very fascinating. That's killing me, but that's a part of the process. That's part of the finding justice for all parts. Oh my gosh, look at all these airplanes. Anyway, so what happened that night? No, I don't want to sound mean at all. I'm sorry, I'm asking because I'm curious. Yeah, good, you're curious as much as I am curious. So you read the news, then that's very big case now. So I'm watching it live a little bit every day, so I'm kind of following, and I'm watching it live because it's interesting to see how the real court works and how like corrupted things are and how the system is corrupted and all blah blah blah. But when you see it, you start to understand a little more, and you try to believe the facts and the real evidence. You try to believe the experts, but we know the experts can be bought too. Look at this beautiful bird. But anyways, if you haven't heard about Karen Reed, I'm telling you the story. I'm gonna just try myself to tell a story. Смотрите, какая красивая птица. That's a beautiful bird. My gosh, so pretty. So pretty. Anyways, what happens? No, I don't want to sound mean. No, you're not mean, Rebecca. It's okay. Thank you for stopping by and writing the comments. It's important for me. Karen Reed, do you think she's guilty or innocent? Well, every day I have a different opinion. But anyways, as much as I don't like her as a person, as much as I don't like her, how she behaves, like even after the first trial, like giving all these interviews, like blah blah blah, making a big, you know, big victim out of herself, of the mistrial and stuff like that. As much as I don't like her as a person, I am not convinced she is guilty. I will take a reasonable doubt at this point, and I don't think she killed him. I don't think she intentionally killed him. I think that was a lot going on, and I haven't watched the first trial, but my colleague explained to me that the first trial things were way different than this trial, and knowing the facts that the first investigator got kicked out of the police force, you know, it tells you something. So I kind of think that she hasn't killed John. Something else happened to John. So that night, for people who don't know the news, who don't know the story, so that night they're going to drink. So they have this like long conversation at night, and they kind of both playing weird games because they're dating, right? But they're discussing that they were like fighting a little bit. Karen is discussing like what I didn't like about this conversation. This conversation on your phone is supposed to be personal, but because this tragic events happened, you know, this conversation became public, and it shows like how Karen says that I want to be in a relationship, but not 4 of us. I want to be 2 of us. But you know, when a person has kids, you can't really tell them it's just 2 of us. It's 4 of us, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, he's trying to tell her that he's going to drink with friends and she can join. And she's trying to tell him this evening that she's waiting for the guy to look at her water tank, that something broken in her water tank. And they're kind of going back and forth, that is she coming to drink with them or not. And she's kind of says that she's coming, but she wants to know where to go. And he's kind of coordinating with his friends. But their conversation is kind of weird, you know, like she tries to tell him that she wants to fix things up between 2 of them, but not 4 of them. And he's kind of telling her that, you know, just come and drink with us, and like they're going out with friends. So it goes back and forth, but finally they get to this bar where they're drinking, and then they go to another place to drink. So probably like after midnight, they're all been drinking. There were a couple of people who are gonna play a role and testify now as the witnesses. And unfortunately, these people who were drinking with them that night, they kind of turned back on Karen because something is obviously not right, and something else might have happened to John that Karen was really framed. But at this point, we don't know. This trial is going to be long, and we have to listen to all the witnesses and to all the evidence again, and we need to, you know, I'm trying to place myself on jury's seat here, because jurors are not are advised not to investigate on their own, not to read any previous information and trial about this case, blah blah blah. So they only need to listen what's going on in the courtroom now. But of course, I'm not a juror. I'm still reading and investigating on my own about this case, reading all the articles, listening to all the bloggers, doing live stream from the court and stuff like that. So, okay, let's step away. How do you like my makeup? Today is the first time I use, see, I tried to do the smoky eyes because we had a social at work. We had game social. We played board games, like literally they fed us. It was a social. They fed us good food. So I decided to do smoky eyes. So I used my eye pencil for the first time, and I used some very cheapy, not very good eyeshadows. I bought some new stuff, so this weekend we're gonna do another live stream about makeup because I think I'm finally figuring out at 48 years old how to do smoky eyes. Rebecca, I think alcohol encouraged her to actually hurt him. I don't think her sober would hurt him. But with that, she does need to be punished because she did end his life. No. Rebecca, we won't jump to the conclusion. The trial is still going. As much as I know how drunk she was, as much as I know that, you know, she's been saying, could I have hit him, or did I hit him, or I hit him? I think there are experts from FBI investigation, because my colleague just told me that there was an FBI investigation of the investigation about John, and that's why this like company ARCA, they had a mechanical engineer examining the evidence. And there was a conclusion that John wasn't hit by a car. He died from blunt trauma and hypothermia, but he wasn't hit by a car. So at this point, I have a reasonable doubt he was hit by Karen's car. You know, she was so drunk, she doesn't know what happened, but it's not quite a fact yet that John was hit by the car. That's my opinion. Thank you for your opinion. And that's why I wanted to discuss, because we all have different opinion. And that's the brilliance of it. That's fascinating that people can divide on this case. But because I'm so involved, every day I have different new evidence that makes me go from one side to another side. But today I was listening to testimony of this Jen McCabe, and she's definitely lying. She's going to be punished for that. She's going to be impeached as a witness because she's been lying in the first trial. Now she's covering up her lies, and she's lying all around. Something have happened that night that we don't know. We are lucky we're on the jury. Yes, Rebecca, thank you for this comment. I just wanted to tell you that I would never be able to be a good juror because I take things so personally and I take things so seriously. Things are literally killing me like it was all happening like those are my friends. I'll be too related to this case to be objective, you know. I cannot ever be objective because jury has somebody's life at stake, you know. Remember that case of Casey Anthony? I'm sure it was happening right here in Orlando. I saw the police going in the pond trying to find the little girl. I was passing by going to work. I worked with a colleague who was in high school with Casey Anthony, and I literally cried when I heard the verdict. I was pregnant in 2008, and I think there was a mistake. There was a huge mistake that she wasn't charged with the murder of her kid. And here, I don't know. At this point, I don't believe she hit him with a car. So anyways, for those who doesn't know, I get so defensive over cases I read about. It had nothing to do with me, but my feelings are so strong and obvious. Yes, Rebecca, thank you for expressing the thought, because that's how I am. That's how I am. I'm too opinionated when I make my own opinion. But at this point, I have doubts. And that's all the jurors need. If they have a reasonable doubt to believe something else happened and the cops were corrupted and they're covering and she was framed just because she was drunk and, you know, something might have happened this way, like they blame her, she hit him. But at this point, oh, I did my 10,000 steps. I'm so happy. And I'm so happy you could stop by and express, you know, your thoughts here, because that's exactly what I'm looking for to discuss with my viewers. I'm not, you know, I'm trying myself in different genres. I'm showing you my kitchen, renovated kitchen. I'm showing my cooking skills. I'm telling you about my kids and difficulties in their upbringing. I'm telling you the clash of the cultures where I'm from, adapting to the culture, being a real American here in this country, living in, you know, this reality. So I'm discussing everything on my channel. I'm just pouring my soul out. So for those who don't know what happened that night, we already spoiled by having a conversation with Rebecca. Thank you, Rebecca. So they're going to drink, and they're all drinking, and imagine they're cops. They are freaking cops, and they feel so freaking untouchable. They're doing shots, they're drinking beers, they're with their like friends or wives or whatever. They're hanging out, they're drinking past the midnight, and they're gonna be a blizzard that night. The weather is gonna be deteriorating, they're gonna be snowing and blizzard. The next day they suggest nobody drives, and these people at night are still drinking and going back in their cars home. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the cops, the police, the best of us are doing this without no consequences? So that fact is killing me. Yes, I know they're people. Yes, I know they don't use Uber. You know, yes, I know they can drunk drive, but, you know, with a certain amount of alcohol in their blood. But these people are on cameras. At this point, nobody knew it's going to be an investigation. They on freaking cameras, drinking, doing shots, and then going back home driving. Anyways, but that's, yeah, the rant is over. Anyways, they're going home, and in the conversation, in the text messaging between John and Karen, John tells her, I'm relying on you, I'm getting a ride to the bar, so I'm not going to be driving. So John gets a point from me for not driving drunk. So he said, I'm relying, but he's letting Karen drive. So he lets Karen, he tells Karen, I'm relying on you to come drink with us so you can drive me back home, because I want to go back home to my kids. And she says, okay. So they're going to another bar, whatever, local restaurant. And they've been drinking, and then they decide to have a party in somebody's house on Fairview 34, whatever, Fairview or whatever address is, in Canton. So Karen is invited too, but for some reason she doesn't want to go to that party, because I don't know, that's a John's friend, and I don't know what her point was exactly. Maybe she was too drunk, she wanted to go home and relax, she didn't want to go to somebody's house, but she agrees to drop John off at that house. So they go there after midnight, like well after midnight, and she goes there, people are there, they keep texting him, where are you? He's asking where to. They get the address, he's going there, she drops him off at the location, at the little, I don't know, driveway, and she leaves and she goes home, and she leaves him at the location. He doesn't remember, she doesn't see that him getting in the house or whatever. She just leaves and goes home and goes to bed because she's drunk. In the morning she wakes up at 5 and she starts calling, texting John. Oh, did she go to his house? I don't remember that. Anyways, he's not home. She realizes, no, she goes to his house. So she realizes he's not at home. And she's calling him, she's texting him, she's leaving him super bad messages, blah, blah, blah. Because Karen, she's very jealous. She knows that his previous girlfriend or somebody he might like, they call her Bella's mom. She lives down a few houses from where the party was, and she starts to think maybe he went to Bella's mom's house. So she's very jealous. Sorry to comment so much. You're awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca. No, I really appreciate you stopping by. That's how the live streams are. That's how I find them successful. When people get touched and they want to comment, they want to express something. I'm like, any comments are welcome. I'm very happy you stopped by. Thank you so much. Big hug from Florida to you. Big, huge hug. Anyways. I forget some details, but that's okay. I'll look up on it. It's not very important. So she starts to call his friend Carrie, C-A-R-R-I-E. So Karen is the girl and Carrie is John's friend. So she starts to call her and she says, John didn't come home. What could have happened to him? He would never be like that, not coming home. And they say, oh, let's go see where he could be. So Carrie comes to John's house and they look around. They don't find John, blah, blah, blah. So they decide to go back to this place where the party was. And of course, when they come here around 6 o'clock in the morning, it's been snowing all night, and they see John's body. They take another friend, Jen McCabe, who was at the party too. They all get into Carrie's car, like the friend, John's friend car. And they go, and of course, Karen is hysterical. She started to scream something that could I have hit him, or I hit him. So the ladies noticed that her backlight is broken, and they don't know what happened. But when they came and see John under the snow, his body's already cold. They started to do CPR. They started to call 911, but of course John was gone. John was gone at this point. 6 o'clock in the morning. It's snowing, it's blizzarding, the police is coming. So what's very interesting from this point when John was found dead? The first responders are at the scene. They can't do much. They're trying to take John to the hospital, and they're suggesting that Karen goes for psychiatric evaluation because he's very hysterical. She's screaming, she's shouting, she's obviously stressed of, you know, John being dead at this point. But imagine you come into somebody's house where the party was. Imagine your sister lives there, because, you know, today I just learned this from Jen McCabe, you know, testimony, and she's lying big time. She's just lying. She was trying to be so sweet and cheap this time, because first trial she was mean, and now, like, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to impeach her in the most, like, legitimate way. So this lady is lying. Like, her sister lives there. Like, imagine there was a party. Just imagine the real life situation. There was a party in your sister's house, and in the morning you come to your sister's house, to her driveway, and you find a dead body, right, of your friend, of your mutual friend, and you don't even freaking knock the door to get your sister out to help. Like when you call 911, when you're trying to resuscitate your friend, when you're trying to do CPR, when you have his hysterical girlfriend, you don't go to wake up your sister and telling her that she has a dead body in her driveway? No freaking way. So this is a big lie. This is what doesn't sit right with me. This is why I think Jen McCabe, she's lying big time. You freaking knock the door. If you find a freaking dead cat by somebody's door, you knock to the stranger's door and you tell them that's a dead cat at your driveway. And this stupid bitch, right? This stupid, ignorant bitch, she's not freaking going to her sister's house where they were drinking, where they had a party, to tell them that there is a dead body outside. Yes, this only fact makes me think that Karen is innocent. Well, not let's not say innocent, but she's not. She, you know, and how bad could she hit him that he falls and loses his conscience and and your friend been calling you before you get there, asking where are you, telling you where to park, and your friend doesn't see the cars, and your friend doesn't come out to see if you really get, and doesn't open the door for you. You know, Jen McCabe. She was texting John, where are you, park there, giving him instructions to get in, and when he didn't get in, she didn't even came out to check on him, even if she saw that he was dropped off, like the car was there, you know. So I'm so fascinated with this case. At this point, people are covering something up. What doesn't sit with me is that John had some wounds, like he had wounds like the dog scratched him. There was a dog in the house. The family who owned the dog got rid of her, like rehomed it. The family who owned the home after these tragic events, they sold the home. What they're trying to cover up? The investigation was not properly done. The pieces of her light, of her backlight, were found later. They were not found right away at the scene. They were found later after they possessed her car. So I think those pieces of her tail light, they were placed there later. Was there history of abusive or anything? Well, that's interesting, because there are speculations that the tone that he talked to her that night was very abusive. There are speculations that he grew up in the family, that his mom was kind of abusive to their dad, because like she kind of belittled his father when she was giving her testimony, motive on her behalf. Yes, exactly. She didn't want to come, like she didn't quite want to come that evening. Like from their communication, I got a vibe that he was like kind of like pushy, and he was kind of like playing hot and cold with her, like, why don't you come tonight? Why can't we just come and drink it out? Why don't you come during the day? Something, because, you know. So he's kind of playing that guy like he wants her there, but she's playing this girl who's like, oh, I'm waiting for the guy to fix my thermostat, you know, and he says, don't worry, I'll fix it later for you. And she keeps saying to him, everybody's using you in your family. And she's telling him, I don't want to be the one to use you for my needs, blah, blah, blah. So she's playing this independent woman, having her own money, fixing things on her own, doesn't need John. She's playing this super independent 40-plus woman with a great career, good finances. She can take care of herself. And he doesn't play abusive in these text messages, but it's something about his tone, like, why don't you come? Are you coming? I'm relying on you. So he's kind of like, he's not sugarcoating it. So, motive on her behalf. Was there history of abusive or anything? They both were very strong-headed people. And at that age, if you're not married and you don't have a long-term relationship, it's already a sign that something very complex in you that doesn't allow you to build long-term relationships. So imagine he wasn't ever married. He was only having affairs and lots of girlfriends through his lifetime at 45, right? And she's 42, this career brilliant woman, smart woman. So she didn't have a long-time boyfriend or relationship or a kid or a family or a stable, like she probably had relationships before John, but she's been dating 2 years. And at this point, she plays this independent, cool, you know, independent woman that she can take care of her tank by herself, you know, like very, how you call it, very independent feminist, almost like a feminist. Don't worry, she keeps, I think she's kind of referring to his family using him for their own advantage. Like, and he seemed like a helpful guy. He said, you don't need to call and pay someone. I can come on Monday and fix your problem with the tank. Don't let the guy, you know, buy you a new tank because I can buy you, like, and like he doesn't want her to be ripped off. So he came across like in this particular text message, and they only showed us this text messaging so far. She came across a little, you know, more like feisty, you know, like. And what I didn't like about this texting, that she kept telling, like, we need to fix it between 2 of us, not 4 of us. And you know, like, it comes across wrong. If you know your boyfriend has 2 kids and he's raising 2 kids, regardless if they're niece and nephew, he loves these kids, you know, he took responsibility, family responsibility to raise these kids, you know, and you kind of like those kids. They can relate to you. You bought them nice gifts, you engage in conversation with them. Why are you saying to a person you're supposed to kind of love and have a relationship, why are you saying to him that you want to fix relationship between 2 of you? You know, like, that's it. That's the union. If you want to become a part of this family, that's it. He's a part. He and his kids are pretty much 3 people you're probably gonna marry, you know. So I didn't like that part, but it's maybe me, because when I was marrying my husband, he has 2 kids from the previous marriage. I was jealous. I was like, had a lot of feelings, but I knew they're gonna be his kids forever, and whatever he's gonna do for his kids from previous marriage, he's gonna do the same things to my kids. He's gonna be a good dad to them. So this came across from text messaging kind of like mean from Karen. If you were on the jury and had to decide innocent or guilty, what would you pick? At this point, not guilty. Not guilty because of reasonable doubt. I don't think you can say innocent. Innocent in the 2nd-degree murder, because she didn't intend to kill him like that. She didn't intend to hit him by the car and leave him in the snow. Like, I don't see her doing that. Like, why she would get so drunk to not just leave him and go on independently with her life. Why would she kill him, like, to get herself in so much trouble, you know? Nope. She's a smart woman. She has a career. She had her own finance. She was acting like an independent, cool girl. I don't believe she wanted to kill him. Like, I don't believe that. At first, at very first, when I just started to watch it and read about it, I kind of felt like she was so drunk that she hit him and she doesn't remember. But when this all other evidence started to pop up, like all these cover-ups, all these lies, all these discrepancies in the witnesses' testimony, all this investigation, like an investigation which was investigating the cops. You know, there was an FBI investigation that they investigated the cops, because there was some other case that the investigators screwed up. If you were on the jury, yeah, at this point, like at this particular point, it's not a 2nd-degree matter if I'm a juror. But you see, what I didn't like, that after the second trial, instead of shutting up, Karen got so much publicity. She was trying to go any news channel everywhere. She was invited to tell her story, that she was framed, and a lot of times she would express her feelings and coming across like really impulsive and mean person, and a lot of people are on her side. Like, I don't like her. I don't like her demeanor. I don't like her. I don't like her demeanor. Sorry. Said hi. But you know, in this particular case, because it's ongoing, I'm not convinced she is a murderer, you know. Even if I don't like her, I see how people lying, and I see that something is wrong there. Like, I haven't heard the story why they sold the house. I haven't heard the story why the dog had to be rehomed. It feels like his traumas are not consistent with whatever mechanical engineers are saying about car hitting a person. So it's a lot of questions. So at this point, it's for sure a reasonable doubt. She didn't really have anything to gain from his death. I don't really see a motive. Yeah, you're right, Rebecca. What is the motive? What is the motive? She's not a wife. She's not going through divorce. She's not being stripped of her finances or something. So, and you know what's killing me, like, she didn't even want to come. It's like it was a vibe from her, like, oh, you've been drinking, go ahead. I don't want to be like next to you when you're drinking with your friends. I don't want to interfere. So I got the vibe she didn't want to go to drink that night. So can you imagine the such a tragic circumstances that happened to her, that she goes, she gets drunk, and this, you know, this death happens, and you know, she gets blamed just because the investigation is not, like, the investigators, the cops are not doing a good job this morning. You know, yes, it was snowing. Yes, they couldn't see. Yeah, they found a clear cocktail glass there, right, in the snow. But they couldn't find the red plastic pieces of her tail light. The same time they found the clear glass, and all of a sudden they could find these pieces later. That sounds really fishy. That sounds really sus. So a lot of suspicions, and like, why they all talking to each other? Like, when that happened, why didn't she go to her sister right away? Freaking, you know, going to her sister saying, you know, like, all this commotion outside of your house and you freaking sleeping, get freaking up your butt here and help my friend. Like, you know, help my friend Karen to see what's going on and stuff like that. She didn't go to the house until they took John away, you know. So there might be a cover-up. There might be something happened at that party, that they're all cover each other and they're each other's ass, trying to really go against Carrie because they didn't like her. They were his friends, and maybe they not necessarily liked her. But you know, she doesn't deserve to be framed as a killer. She doesn't deserve to be framed as a killer. They were as drunk as she was that night, all of those cops, and they were all driving, you know, and they were all drinking. So something must have happened. Thank you for talking about this online. It didn't get enough coverage during the first court hearing. Yeah, it didn't get enough coverage because they didn't have a good prosecutor, they didn't do a good job, and now there are more evidence. And it's very sad that, like they say, Commonwealth, it's very sad that the state and the judge, they kind of want to covers the system up a little bit. It kind of like, it's a little biased. And those lawyers, they're best lawyers they can be, but they're working pro bono. So there is a point there too, like they don't get paid, but they want to win this case. So they're being very much doing the work for Karen to help her out. She gets a lot of support. Anyways, I've been here an hour and 30 minutes. The lighting is so bad because the sun has set and it's dark. And okay, this weekend I'm gonna go live stream and we're gonna do makeup. I'm gonna show you my new things I bought for my eyeshadow routines, and we're gonna do makeup together. But please keep following this case, and we're gonna discuss it again in the live stream, or I'll make a video. I'll keep following. I'm gonna talk about it a little bit more maybe this weekend. Thank you for being with me, Rebecca. Also, great job on 10,000 steps. That's $9.99 more than me. And your watermelon shirt is so cute. Thank you so much, Rebecca. I really appreciate you. Thank you, all of my viewers. I had 5 viewers. I love you all. I appreciate each and one of you for supporting my channel. This is my therapy. This is my outlet to talk, to know what's going on, to express my thoughts about it, the topics that interest me. Thank you for being with me. I feel so much better talking on my live stream and doing my steps. I'm trying not to gain all this weight back, being healthy, going strong, entering new stage of life. I love you all. Have a good weekend. Love you all. Bye. Kate B. Good night. Have a good weekend. See you again during the weekend for the makeup. Bye. Love